Japan Station is made possible in part by Patreon support. If you would like to make sure that I can keep bringing you more content like this, then head on over to japankyo.com/Patreon and sign up for as little as $1 a month.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Japan Station.
Welcome to Japan Station, a production of japankyo.com. This is the podcast where we teach you everything you should know about Japan, plus a few other things. I'm your host, content creator, founder of japankyo.com, and the anime linguist on YouTube, Tony R. Vega. Today, I've got another amazing guest for you. So, today, I'm going to be talking to somebody who literally walked from the bottom of Japan, Cape Sata, the southernmost point on mainland Japan, all the way to the very tippity top of mainland Japan, Cape Soya, at the top of Hokkaido. It took him almost 6 months to do this. I think it was 169 days. It's over 3,000 kilometers, and he live streamed this whole adventure. He's also active on Instagram, and he does have a YouTube channel as well, but he's mainly active on Twitch. So I'm going to be talking to Sensei Martian. Sensei, like teacher, and then Martian, Martian, like the alien. If you're into watching live streams about Japan and all that, I highly recommend checking out Sensei Martian on Twitch. He's got some really fun, interesting content. He's a great guy, really nice. I happened to just meet him by pure coincidence during my latest trip in Japan. We were both at an event. I didn't know anything about him. I hadn't seen his streams, and then somebody told me, oh, he walked across Japan, and I go like, well, I've been doing these long distance walks. This sounds very interesting to me. I'm going to go over and talk to this guy. And I did. And I think we hit it off because, you know, we're both doing this very similar thing. And then I said, I want you on Japan Station. I want you on my podcast. And we got this going, and it's been, I think, less than a month since we met and recorded it. And here you go. You're going to get to listen to some amazing stories. He's had some really, really fun, interesting, tough experiences along this journey from the bottom to the top of Japan. And I just love talking to him because, as you may know, I've also been doing long distance walks across Japan. So this kind of thing is something that I absolutely love. And I love connecting with other people doing these sorts of big walks and adventures. So if you want to find him online, you can just look up Sensei Martian. I recommend you check him out, or you can just check out the links down in the show notes. In the meantime, here we go. Here's my conversation with Sensei Martian. So then let's get into the walking part. I've done a lot of walking, not quite as much as you, but you know, like there's a lot we can get into here, and I was very excited when I got to meet you. So, so how did what pushed you? What gave you the idea to start walking? How did it all get started?
Yes, so a couple of years ago, I was watching another streamer called Japanese Printmaking, David Bull. He's a mokohanga. He's been making woodblock prints in Japan for 40 years, and someone happened to just mention the book The Road to Sata by Alan Booth. And I had no clue about the book, and I had no clue about any of that, but I happened to pick it up. I was like, well, if someone recommended it, I'll take a look into it. And I started thumbing through it. I'm reading it, and you know, the standard things. Yes, I can use chopsticks. Yes, I can eat sushi. You know, he did the walk in 1977, so I imagine very, very, very different than what I did, you know, almost 50 years later. But there were a lot of kind of similarities, but he seemed a little bit like a half glass empty kind of person, and I'm a little bit more of a half glass full kind of person. So about halfway through the book, though, I'm like, he says something to the effect of, I'm 30 years old. I've been in Japan for 8 years. What am I doing? And at that moment, I was like, I'm 30 years old. I've been in Japan almost 8 years. What am I doing? You know, am I supposed to live in Tokyo this whole time, or what do I need to do? But at the time, I thought there was no way I could just up and walk across Japan. He quit his job. He was a writer. He quit his job for 4 months to go do it. And I didn't have that opportunity, but I do work remotely. So I thought, oh, well, maybe if I just work in the mornings, walk all day, work in the evenings, I could figure it out. But at that time too, I was like, there's no way for me to really do that. And over the summer though, I'd started streaming and I was walking outside 10,000 steps a day, 12,000, 15, and gradually I noticed my step count going up without even, intentionally doing it. It just kind of happened. And so then I was thinking, well, what if I pick a direction, walk 20, 25 kilometers a day, and then stay at a hotel, work. 20, 25 is not bad for most people. That's 6 hours, maybe 7 if you have some breaks.
Yeah,
and so I did the Q.
More or less what I was doing as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a reasonable, and it can be tough some days depending on elevation, but it's a reasonable. You break it down into chunks. 500. I'm going to walk 500 kilometers. You go, that's crazy. But I'm going to walk 20 kilometers a day, and you go, that's 25 days. That's not too bad. So I did that walk, and I loved it. I walked from Nihonbashi in Tokyo to Sanjo Ohashi in Kyoto, and at the time my listening to Japanese was okay, and my reading was okay, but speaking and like calling hotels or calling Minshuku and asking for reservations, I was petrified to do. So a lot of it was, what could I find easily to book, booking.com or yahoo.com or something like this. And but it was successful, and I came back and I thought, okay, next thing I want to walk all of it. So that's how that started.
So basically, so you were booking places along the way, like last minute, or how were you doing that? Because like the way that I did it was, okay, see, I would book several nights, and that would be my hub, and then I would take the train back to where I left off in the morning, then in the evening go back to the hotel. So you were every day you were booking something different?
Virtually, but for both of my walks, I was booking either the night before or the lunchtime of.
Wow.
And the only time it didn't happen like that, when I started getting into Yamagata and Akita, some of the local, like small towns only had one inn. So I had, like, that was the only place. If I couldn't make that inn, like it was like 27, 28 kilometers to an inn. If I couldn't make it to that one, then it would be like 45, 50. And I had a 20 kilogram, like 50-pound backpack. I did not want to like risk. I didn't want to risk a 45-kilometer day and then absolutely destroy my body.
Yeah.
30, 35. I think the most I ever did, toward the top, I did 37 back to back. I did like a 37, 37. But I really, I wanted to find the balance of I'm walking, I'm talking to people, and I'm enjoying it. But too slow and it takes way too much time. Too fast and you're too tired to talk to anybody, or you're too like, oh, I have to do 40 kilometers today. That's 12 hours if you include breaks and all this stuff. And so then you're just outside all day. And so finding the kind of the perfect spot of distance plus interaction took a long time. But toward the top, I almost had no choice. From Yamagata all the way up to the top, there were a few days that were under 25 kilometers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And did you ever have any days where like it was all full and you anything like that?
Yeah. So in that situation, normally I would call if it looked a little bit dicey, like it was going to be full, I would try to call the day before or the night before or like 2 nights before if I looked at it. And then again, once I got to Akita Aomori, I had to book probably 2 or 3 days at a time. But it was sequential. It wasn't 2 or 3 places, 2 or 3 nights at one place. It was, town A, town B, town C. And yeah, it was, it's kind of funny because I think about it. I probably could have done the long walk. So the Kagoshima to Hokkaido, I did 169 days. And I got really, really injured in Toyama. So I had to take 2 days rest. But if I had planned it a bit better, I probably could have done it in 125, 130. Mm-hmm. But there were some days I did have to double up where, okay, the town I was staying in, they had extra rooms, but the next town was booked up until Monday or whatever. So I would have to stay in that town for the weekend and then go in. And it sometimes worked out like, oh, I had a lot of work. So like I had to send invoices or have classes or whatever. And so it worked out. But if I was a little bit more efficient, I could have done it a little bit quicker maybe.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so in those days you would stay like a couple days at that same inn, and then you would just do work. You wouldn't be walking like that extra day, and then you'd start walking once it cleared up again, or what?
So what I would do is I would walk a little bit around the town. So instead of like a full 8-hour stream, 8-hour walk day, 10-hour walk day, I would like wake up, finish my classes at 9, 10 a.m., go out, walk a bit, grab a lunch, walk back, and then I would spend the afternoon, relaxing, doing some work. Sometimes I was trying to, get into the video editing, but when you're stretched thin and you're not, like, if I was making money from it, maybe I could reallocate my brain bandwidth to say, okay, I have to make money from these videos, but, I was just doing it for the love of the game, and so it was kind of lower priority. My highest priority was my actual work that I have to do to pay my stuff, and then second was like health actually second was probably interactions with local people, and then third was my physical health. So like, how far can I go, and am I eating kind of enough or somewhat properly? Am I staying hydrated enough? Because I walked from April to October, so I walked through the summer.
Wow. And
that was pretty brutal, but it was kind of fun too, like in a challenging kind of way. So
yeah. I mean, you at least, so you had, by the time it got to summer, you already had some endurance, because if you had started the summer, that would have been really tough. I mean, it is tough, but it would have been even worse.
Absolutely. That's partially why I started April 17th, and I was like, okay, at the very least I can kind of get warmed up, gradually toast it up until, so when the oven's on, I'm not dying every day, so
yeah. And this was 2023, right, when you started?
So the Kyoto Kaido was November 2023. The Sata Misaki to Soya Misaki was April 2024 to October 2024.
Got it. Okay.
So last year. Yeah.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you got injured. Like, what happened that time?
So what happened is around Izumo, I had switched to boots because it was starting to become rainy season, and I thought, I don't want wet feet,
Yep.
But the problem is boots plus pavement and a heavy bag, it changes how you walk. And so normally if you're doing like 1 or 2 short days, even if you're hiking a mountain for a couple of days, but when you're doing 40,000 steps a day for weeks, what had happened is my right hip had started to, if it was the tendon or the ligament, it was my hip flexor thing. It wasn't the bone itself, but it was very, very tight. And so because of that, it hurt to walk like a certain stride. And then when I changed my gait, it started affecting my left knee. And so I was like, okay, because I had been using normal walking shoes up until Izumo, and then it was boots only from Izumo to Toyama almost, or Takaoka, I guess. And I needed, so I decided, okay, gotta get rid of the boots, or like, sub them out for something else, stretch for a couple of days, like don't do anything for a couple of days and see if it fixes itself. And Toyama is about the halfway point, and I almost thought I had to quit because it was really painful getting up in the morning. During the day when you're moving and stuff, your muscles are warm, it's kind of fine, but you sleep for a few hours and then you wake up and you can't move because it's just your muscles are gridlocked with each other, and your joints don't want to do what they want to do. So, but luckily hot springs and stretching, I was able to start, and I was too ambitious too. Even after Toyama, I booked a place that was like 15 kilometers down the road, and I could only make it like 10 kilometers down the road before I had to call it. So,
wow.
A couple of those days after that were a little bit shorter than I would like, but again, these are things now that I know and I can prevent, but part of that is just part of these long walks are just finding out about yourself, and
yes,
as you know as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, part of it is accepting the fact that some days things don't go well. Some days you may only be able to do, for whatever reason, 10, 15 kilometers. Or in my case, there were situations where it just felt too unsafe to do a certain section because of my eyesight. Like, it was literal mountain passes, and it just seemed like not something I should be doing. And I literally, like I was talking to my phone, like these videos that I post, and like I feel like I'm tearing up because I want to walk this section, but I know that I shouldn't, and so I decide to take like that one train station, not walk that part, take the one train station, skip that part, but I feel horrible, like because I want to do it, but it's just okay, skip like 7 kilometers or put your life at risk. I guess I'll skip the 7 kilometers.
That's I 100. There's I think is on the north side of Hyogo and going into Kyoto. There was a chunk of road that had been washed out by, it was a landslide, Jisuberi, and I didn't know. It was very crazy, very serendipitous. I was at a tea cafe. I'd been walking all day. There's no food. I go to this tiny town, and the only thing open is like a matcha / wagashi, like a sweets green tea place. And so I sit down there. I haven't eaten food all day, talking to the owner. And tomorrow I'm staying here tonight, and then tomorrow I'm going to go to this place. And there's a guy with his son sitting, a few seats down, and he turns around and he goes, actually, that place is washed out. And I go, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, it's washed out. And I was like, well, Google says, and he's like, no, like I work at City Hall, that and the North Route are washed out. You'll have to re-navigate your way. And this is, of course, the one time that I had booked a hotel like 2 nights in a row at different So then I was like, well, no, that in my brain, I'm like, this can't be. So this is actually, so he told me that the next morning I go to the city hall and I say, hey, I looked at Google Satellite. The broken part is only like 800 meters. And I said, I'm sure it's for cars, right? Like I could walk on it. Like that's fine. And they go, no, you can't do that. But there's a hunting road nearby. You could take the hunting road. So they pull out this little paper. They printed a paper map, and they've shown me. They say, we've only been up to this part, but from here to here, the last 200 meters, we don't know what it's like. And I had to climb up almost vertically, and I had to like stick my hands in the dirt and like grab up to climb up a wall almost with my pack. And after that, I said, okay, no more. If the road is washed out, I'll take a train and I'll walk. I'll walk what I was supposed to walk, but it was too dangerous because no one was around. I was still kilometers from the closest water or the closest like Michinoeki or anything like that. So same thing. Like, luckily I never did have to take the train, but there were times where I thought, if it gets crazy, I'm going to have to take the train and figure out some way to make up for it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And in my case, I get lost so often. They're like, oh, yes, I made it up. Because I can't see the street signs and all that, all right. So this is pure personal curiosity on my part. So my latest walk, I made it to Kagoshima City, and then I took the ferry over. I walked to the terminal, took the ferry over to Sakurajima, and that's where I finished. But you made it all the way down to the Cape of Sata, which is the southernmost point on mainland Japan. I really wanted to do that, but it was just not feasible for me with my time limit because I don't live in Japan. I have to come back to Hawaii, and I couldn't do it. It would probably have taken me, I don't know, maybe like 3, 4, 5 more days, and I just didn't have enough time. So can you, anything that like stands out about you about that last stretch from the Cape of Sata to like back where the biggest city is? I guess Kagoshima City would be the biggest city in the area.
Well, so this is this is because I started down there, and this is something that it's really I really don't want to complain, but I'm going to have to slightly complain. The only way to get down to Cape Sata is a tour bus that is round trip. Like you cannot one way it. Like they wouldn't let me one way. You have to get on. They take a break for an hour. You take photos, then you hop back on. They would not let me one way it. And I assume it's for safety. That's fine. I'm not. Or you have to take a taxi. So what I did is on April 16th, I flew into Kagoshima. I took a bus to Kanoya. And then I took a taxi from Kanoya to Minami Osumi, which is a tiny town on the west side of the East Peninsula, because Kagoshima kind of has like a pincer peninsula down there. Sakurajima's in the middle. And then as I was driving there with the taxi driver, I said, hey, tomorrow morning I need a taxi at like 6 a.m. Is that possible? And they said, well, what do you need it for? And I said, well, I need a one-way taxi to the bottom of Japan. And they said, one way. And I said, yes, sir. And they said, why? And I said, well, starting tomorrow, I'm walking to Hokkaido. I said, I'm walking from the bottom of Japan to the top of Japan. And he said, no, like, why? And I said, no, that's the reason. And, he kind of chuckled, and then we pulled over, and he stopped, and this is late at night. This is like 10 p.m. on Tuesday. He stops, and we stop, and it talks to because each little town, they have a network of taxis, but they're all kind of koji, like they're all independent, but they all work under an umbrella of another one. Uh-huh. And so he stops. He's like, this is the shacho this is the boss of the taxi company. He'll be taking you tomorrow. And the boss peeks his head, and he's like, 6 a.m. walking? And I go, yes, sir, that's right. So I wake up at 5:30, and I go downstairs, and I'm waiting at 6, and no one's there. And 6:30 rolls around, and no one's there. So then I call the guy, and I go, hey, I said, sorry to wake you up or something, but I said, I requested a taxi from this business hotel to the bottom. And they said, oh, we thought you were like joking. And I said, no, sir, I'm downstairs waiting. I said, so if I could get that ride, that would be great. And then sure enough, about 5 minutes later, he pops in, and we drive down there and start going. It's, and I think a lot of Kyushu kind of feels like Hawaii, but at the bottom, there's a lot of palm trees, and there's beaches, and there's, it's very green, and it does feel, obviously it's Japan, but it doesn't feel like the Japan and that's part of why I wanted to do this walk is I've been in Tokyo for the last 10 years, and yeah, I'd go to, Nagoya or Gifu or Fukushima, and I had traveled, day trips, weekend trips, but I had never been to Kyushu. I'd never been to these places, and so I really wanted to see what it was like. And it's so cool to see how each area, it really is, there's a familiarity because you go, oh, this is Japan, but also geographically, it's not, it doesn't remind you of the Japan that, you end up knowing by being in one place for so long.
Yeah. So he ended up taking you there, and you were good after that. He didn't say, are you really going to walk? And then he wanted to get you back in the taxi or something?
He as we're driving down there, he's like, you have water, right? And I said, yes, sir, I have, like 3 liters of water. And he's like, you have food? And I have like 10 calorie mates. He's like, okay. He's like, are you sure? He's like, you have my number if you need me to call. And he's like, it'll be expensive, but like, I'll come get you. And I was like, no, sir, I'm fine. Thank you. Like, I do have your number, but, I've made up my mind. Like I'm gonna make it, And so unfortunately the first day, so from the bottom, because this is another, I think COVID really hit a lot of these local places with the Minshuku. A lot of places just closed up shop. Like a lot of them, it's like restaurant on the first floor, inn on the second and third floors. During COVID, a lot of them are like, meh, we're good. We don't want to do the Minshuku part. We'll just keep the restaurant part because it taxes or whatever. I'm not entirely sure, but so a lot of the ones closer to the bottom there's no more. So the closest inn, unless you get very lucky, at the very, very bottom, there's 2 inns, there's 2 Minshuku. But if you cannot get a booking at one of those, the closest one is in Minami Osumi, which is like 35 kilometers north of Cape Sata. So the problem is that Google Maps does not show you, to get down to the actual observatory, it's another like 1 kilometer each way. And then you're walking around and taking photos and stuff. So my first day was almost 40 kilometers, all said and done. And I had been slacking on my walking. So to recap, November 2023, the end of November 2023, I finished Tokaido. I had torn a leg muscle in my shin. And so I took all that time off virtually until March 2024. I started walking a little bit, and then I left April 17th. So my first walk back with a heavy pack is almost 40 kilometers. And I remember I called my girlfriend, and I was like, this sucks. She's like, it's the first day. And I was like, no, it was like, it's the most I had walked. It was like 62,000 steps in a day. And I was like, this is awful. Like my body hurts. I don't have a place booked for tomorrow. I don't know. Like originally the goal was to do 25, but man, I don't think I can make it more than 10. And luckily that ended up having a really nice, because the next morning I go to I'm having breakfast, and the innkeeper says, well, where are you staying? And I go, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm tired. And, And they said, well, actually, we have a friend who lives about 9 kilometers down the road, and he loves having guests. So it was kind of really beautiful that, like, me
Wow.
having this allowed me. So then they called this friend, and then they say, yep, what time are you going to be here? So I got to stay with, somebody, like a homestay for free. And then we just chatted, and it was really nice. He showed me his tomatoes, and it was, had I been more prepared the first day, I wouldn't have been so tired the second day, and I wouldn't have had that experience. So
Yeah.
at that moment, that's when I realized, okay, my original goal was 120 days, but now I'm just going to kind of like see where it goes. If people want to offer me a ride, or not a ride, if people want to offer me a place to stay, if people you want to buy my food, I'll kind of, I'm still going to walk everything, but if it takes 120, or if it takes, I had a hard cap at 6 months. I didn't have any more money than that, but I was like, okay, I'm going to kind of see what happens and see where the wind takes me, and go from there. So
Yeah, I love that, how it turned out. And like when I was doing the research to see like how feasible it would be to walk down to Satamisaki, I thought like, okay, this gets like really tricky. And like you said, the bus, like even for Kagoshima, it's like you have to take a specific ferry, you get there and then you get that bus. But then if you miss the bus, it's like you're out of luck. Like, but I didn't know that they didn't let you back, like not take the bus back. And so yeah, there was no way that I would have been able to do that. And I didn't have enough time to do it anyway. So, it is what it is.
And maybe, had I been a little bit more persuasive, perhaps, maybe, or if I had talked to
maybe ahead of time or called
like,
them,
exactly ahead of time, talk to like the owner, or even talk to like the mayor and stuff.
Yeah.
That happened to me one time in Hokkaido. There was a place that had a campsite. They had bungalows. I didn't have a tent. Stealth camping is illegal, and so I always had work, so I always needed electrical plugins and stuff. But there was a bungalow place in northern Hokkaido, and they had closed early because of bear sightings. And then they had this huge actual cabin, but you have to come with at least 8 members. It was like a gashuku or whatever, like a
right, like a retreat, like, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I called them. I go, hey, do you have rooms? They go, yeah, we're completely empty. And I go, great. Can I book? And they go, yeah, that's fine. And they go, and I say one person one night, and they go, oh, sorry, this is only for 8 people or more. So then I'm like, okay, well, what about the campsite across? They go, oh, no, we've already closed that. And I was like, so then I called them, like the city hall, and I was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm like less than a week from finishing, and this, your town has these lodging options, but what's going on? And they go, well, sorry, we can't open either of them for you. So I was like, this is ridiculous. Anyway, so I had to end up doing like 2 really long days back to back to skip that town. But yeah, sometimes the rules, and I get it, but sometimes the rules are very unflinching, and it can be very frustrating when you are doing a walk, or when you're doing a bicycle or things like this. It can be a little bit difficult to deal with.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're kind of touching on another topic, which I've noticed while I've been doing these walks, which is like the dwindling population, how that's affecting like the infrastructure. And, for example, train lines are like, there's very few people riding certain trains and all this kind of stuff. And yet like they're still hanging on. They're still running these trains, but it makes you go like, these things are not making money. Like, this is not going to last much longer. Like, I don't know, have there been, you've already kind of alluded to some of these experiences, but any other thoughts that you have on this topic, like of, how Japan is changing and the population is shrinking?
Yeah, it's always the dilemma of, and I don't want to veer too off, but it's kind of related. A lot of content creators go and hit up the golden route, or they go check out the cool and sexy things. But for me, like going to, and during the whole walk, I always call it Hon Nihon, the real Japan. And a lot of the people I talk to, they understand that. They're like, oh, Do Inaka is real Japan. And
that's most of Japan.
and that's the thing. Everyone has this image that Japan is robots and bullet trains, but almost overwhelmingly, it is one train in the morning, one train in the evening, and it's a 1-car, 1-man train, and it's a local mom and pop soba shop, and that's it in the whole town. And so it's this really big struggle of how do you get a little bit of tourism to these areas, but maintain the feel, the local feel, the authentic feel, without being overblown. And part of it is you need that you need buses, you need trains, you need something. But ultimately, again, like even Shikoku, like I've been to Shikoku, I love Shikoku, and you see a lot of tourism up north, Tokushima, Kagawa, Matsuyama and stuff. But if you go down south, even in Kochi, there's not as much. And why is that? It's a little bit more difficult to get to. And so as far as the dwindling population, it does kind of hurt to see sometimes. It's really, I talked to Kantaro about this, Kantaro Japan Walker, and I said, yeah, it's really beautiful to see, and it's really awesome to go and talk to these people, but it's also like, if I did a walk like this in 5 or 10 years, half the places are gone. And that's another reason why I was very trying to do it when I did it last year, is because I thought, okay, I'm 31 at the time. In 5 or 10 years, these places aren't going to exist. And so, and I don't mean that in a, that's just it's just matter of fact. That's just the reality. I'm not trying to be negative about it. And so it's like, okay, maybe I can go see, maybe I can write about it, maybe I can talk about it. But it is the dwindling population. You need money. Local governments want to funnel money to where tourists are going, generally speaking. And even a lot of the train lines, like up in Hokkaido, some of the train lines have stopped, and they just have a local bus, and you have to like call, or almost like a local taxi system where you call and you get, because it's cheaper to have like a local taxi give grandma or grandpa a ride to the store and back than it is to run a train for 2 people to ride it.
Right, right. Yeah. Like, for example, this time around in Sakurajima, like after I was done walking with me and one of the sponsors, he came down and we were going around the island in a taxi, and this was an older guy, and he was telling us, like, this elementary school, there's 1 student. This one, there's 2 students, but the older student is the teacher's child. So, like, and he was saying there's 3,000 people here in Sakurajima. And it's just been down. And look, Sakurajima is kind of a dangerous place. There's constant eruptions and all that, but it's also such a unique and fascinating place. And then also like Satamizaki, for example, the Cape of Sata, the southernmost point in mainland Japan. Like that reminds me of like Key West, like the southernmost point in the contiguous US, right? And that's a big tourist attraction. You go there, you take your picture. There's a big like buoy tower kind of thing there. You take your picture. Like, why isn't Satamizaki more of a tourist attraction? And it's just so freaking hard to get there, right? It's
and that's how it is. I mean, even like the school thing reminds me too. Like I walked across Tokyo Prefecture in a day, and they have a school out in Okutama, and like, but like there's almost no kids out there. Then and you're just like, and everyone's having to bus, and they're having to come in, and you see a lot of that. You see a lot of town consolidation happening. But no, you're right. I mean, like even at Soya Misaki, the northern point, it's a lot easier to get up there, and there's a few more people that go up there because there is a bus that runs up there. There's a city bus that runs up there. But like Sata Misaki, it's really, really difficult to get to, and it obviously it's a geographical thing, but maybe the Kagoshima government needs to think about, maybe increasing. But again, I guess they've probably run the numbers. But they need to have some form of even a twice a day bus, a bus to take you down there and a bus to take you back up, like a local bus. I think would do pretty well. So
I don't know. Like it is there's so much to see. The sad thing is that sometimes they are like these one little isolated attractions. And so you're not going to go there just for that one thing. Like you're going to go to Kyoto where you can see 10, 15, 20 things and, all like within walking distance or a short train ride. And that's the ultimate problem, right? It's only the weirdos like us that go like, no, I want to go there.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I had a discussion, in May, I did a loop of Shikoku. It was a combination walk / local train. Local train, local bus, and I was in a smaller city southwest of Matsuyama, and one of the ladies working at the hostel says, we really want this town to grow. We really want it to do, and we have this hostel and we get a lot of visitors, but they don't seem to stay very long. And I said, yeah, I said, not to be rude. I said, but the only restaurant in town is that soba restaurant. And I said, the Michi no Eki closes at 5. So you want people to come hang out, but if the world shuts down at 5 o'clock, what are they going to do from 5 to 10, even if, of midnight or whatever? I said, there's no drinking establishments, there's no hot springs, there's nothing. So I said, unfortunately, you can have a really awesome inn, but unless you are doing a full service, Ritz-Carlton, whatever type
spa or something,
spa thing, it's really hard to get people to come out unless there's other infrastructure. Again, like, you can even have a train or you can have hotels, but if there's no restaurants, people are going to spend their money elsewhere. And same thing, if you have a restaurant, people are going to drive there for the day, but they're not going to stay there and spend a little bit more money. So it is this really weird problem of a lot of these kind of small sized towns just need a lot of actual development and not, I'm going to buy an Akia and flip it. And that, no, they need people who want to start a business. They want to start a food business or want to start an actual hotel in business. And it's a really hard sell when it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the tricky thing, and it's very chicken and egg, right? Like, it's like,
yes.
who wants to start it if there's nothing there? But if nobody starts it, there won't be anything there. So,
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you've already talked about multiple interactions you've had with people. That is one of the funnest, most interesting things that happens along these walks. I've had many really interesting interactions. For example, I was looking on your Twitch and I saw, like, I think it might have been in Hokkaido, or it was, I think it was up in the north. Like, a lady went up to you and I think she gave you money to go buy ice cream, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I had like an okonomiyaki owner give me money after I was done eating, and he heard what I was doing. He came up to me, and was like, no, here, it's a tip. Yeah. And he goes like, why are you giving me a tip? It's like, no, go buy yourself something good to drink. I heard you were walking across. He was just like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, I want to very briefly talk about the ice cream thing. So it became a running joke. For the first couple weeks, I didn't have any ice cream because I just, but after a while, and I was walking along certain paths, every Michinoeki, every station stop, rest stop has ice cream, almost like virtually. So I streamed every day that I walked, and so over time,
soft serve ice cream, right?
Soft serve ice cream,
right?
Yeah, soft cream, yeah. So the thing is like, over time, anytime I went to a Michinoeki, because ice creams, I mean, depending on where you're at, it runs from 300 yen to 500 yen. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like, okay, you know what? This is my small little treat. I'm walking a ton. I'm burning whatever, like, I don't care about the calories, and it's, and so every Michinoeki I would have ice cream. So by the time we came to Hokkaido, it was a running joke that, like, oh, there's a Michinoeki coming up. Jason's going to get ice cream. And so for this lady, and you can, if you watch the video, it's kind of, because I have the camera pointed. This is one big thing that I do live stream, but anytime I see someone coming to talk to me, I point the camera down immediately, because while you're walking, it's okay to film as long as people aren't the subject. But the moment someone becomes a subject, you need to get permission from them. Right. And so I always point it down and tell them, but when the camera's pointed up, you see a white van pass me, and then you see them do a U-turn and then pull it in. And that's why I point the camera down. And she exits her vehicle, and she hands me 1,000 yen. She goes, "Ice cream tabete," and which means just go eat ice cream. And I go, doko ni, like, dochira no, so which Michinoeki? She's like, oh, right up there at Hokuryu or whatever. And it's very funny because the chat is like, wow, this lady is like real supporter, like telling you to go eat ice cream and stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, I had some crazy interactions. I think the most memorable on the road, I was walking in Akita, and I get honked at. I'm about to enter Akita city. I'm walking from Yuri Honjo to Akita, and I hear a honk, beep beep, and so okay, they pull over. And she says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I get to talk to you." And I go, well, okay. And she's like, "I saw you 3 weeks ago in Niigata." And I said, that probably makes sense. And she's like, yeah, I was down there for the Nagaoka fireworks. I saw you. I was visiting family. I spent time. Now I'm driving back to Akita. Can I give you a ride? And I was like, no, I'm walking all of it. And she goes, walking? And I go, yes, ma'am, I'm walking. And
I
she goes,
bet
okay, well,
that's
let me, can I give you a gift? And I was like, sure. I'm thinking like, I don't know, like money or a gift card or whatever. And she's like, I have 2 melons. You can pick one. I have a watermelon and I have a honeydew melon. And I'm like, and it's like a 2 kilogram melon. They're both like, 1.5, 2 kilograms. And I kind of look at it and I go, chotto. She's like, oh no, too heavy? And I go, yeah, it's okay. I said, I will accept your gift. I said, I'm almost into town anyway. It's only a few more kilometers. I said, I will gladly accept whichever one you want me to have. And she's like, well, the honeydew is a U-body melon. It's special, so you know what? You can take that. Yeah. So she gave me like a 4,000 yen melon.
Yeah, those are
maybe
good.
More than that,
yeah,
good, it's a
expensive.
good melon.
Yeah.
And so she gave it to me, but she's like, I recognize you from 3 weeks ago. And she said, I remember because many pilgrims have the pointed hat. And she said, yours is flat. I've never seen one like that before.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is
for anybody that hasn't seen your picture, like what? Yeah. Tell us what's your hat.
So after the Tokaido, when I first did the Tokaido, I didn't have any hat, and I just wore baseball caps or whatever. But one of the reasons I did the Tokaido is because there's a very famous woodblock printmaker, Ando Hiroshige. He did the 53 stations of the Tokaido, and on the Tokaido, many of the prints have this flat build sandogasa, the what am I thinking of? The umbrella hat, so to speak. And so whenever I saw all these old prints with the flat version, I thought, oh, that's really cool, but I've never seen that even to buy. And then, I started looking around and I eventually found one and I've been wearing it. And so a lot of people, it is incredibly recognizable because it is. And people will stop me. Oh, are you Ohinro desu ka? Are you a pilgrim? And I go, well, yes and no, but like not really. But yes, like it's this weird. I am doing this for personal self enlightenment, but I'm not stopping, from temple to temple or shrine to shrine. So she's like, nope, that's the only time I've seen that hat, and that's why I knew it was you. And I was like, thank you. So, yeah.
So you got to your place where you were staying and you ate that melon?
I shared it. So that night, here's the problem. I didn't have a knife. So and then you can't use like a plastic McDonald's knife to. So I'm like, do I have to like buy a knife? And I was like, no, I can't. So then that night I stayed in these little like shipping container hotel. They've popped up recently.
I've seen them on the news. Yeah, they're literal containers that they've converted into hotel rooms.
Yep. Yeah. And they're pretty cute, but they're like, okay, they don't have any cooking things. So I held on to it for a day, and then the next day when I got to an actual minshuku, I said, hey,
you were carrying this melon the whole time.
I was carrying it for a whole day, like a day and a half almost. Yeah. And so then and it was clipped to my front. So on my front, I have my water bottle on my left side and this melon on the right side. And then I've got this heavy backpack, and I'm just stomping down the road but I get to the minshuku and I say, hey, I'm so sorry. I said, I have this melon and I can't eat it all. And once we cut it, it's going to go bad. And I don't have, I said, so can you cut it and share it with however many guests you have today? And so they cut it up and then they give it to the family behind me. And they said, oh, it's, Jason sama no okoge or whatever. And I was like, sama janai, Jason demo. And so the family behind me was starting to talk. And the husband and wife were like, have you been stopped by the news yet? And this sounds like something that should be on nani.
Yeah.
And I said, no. I said, actually, no one's stopped me yet. No news, no newspaper, nobody. And she goes, that's crazy because like this is something that should be on the news. And I said, well, that's fine. Like it would be cool, but I'm really just doing this for me. And so, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm fine either way. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, but that's just so funny. Here's a melon.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Well, so we're gonna be wrapping up soon, but I can't help but ask you one thing. Like you've been all across Japan, and one of the things that I love, like through doing these walks, like every time you're in a new area, like you start to hear different Japanese, like the dialect changes, right?
Yeah.
Have you had any interesting experiences with that? Any misunderstandings? I know, like up north, especially, like it can really be a drastic change.
This is and I'm not trying. It's hard when it's older people
Yep.
who. So in Aomori, there are a fair amount of older people who also. I don't want to sound too negative, but they have very few teeth, and so making the hard sounds, making the phonetic sounds, is difficult. But no, every time I talk to somebody, almost everybody universally was like, "Wow, that's cool. You're crazy." And it's kind of fun too, because in the beginning, like I remember even the taxi driver in the very beginning, they're like, "Oh yeah, sure." Like, big talk. But then once you got like past Toyama, people are like, "Oh, you're more than halfway." And then, you're up in Aomori, they're like, "Wow, you're almost done." And then you're in Hokkaido and they're like, "Wow, how many, you've been on the road for 140 days?" And I go, "Yes," and so it's kind of cool to see that change. As far as the pronunciation, it is certain areas. Kyushu had a little bit, Aomori had a bit, but it really just depends. And, again, every time I remember the guy in Aomori, the one I remember most distinctly, I just crossed a bridge and this older gentleman was smoking and bicycling, and he passes me and then he stops and he like gets off his bike and he like comes to talk to me. And, he says, "Nawai nan desu ka?" And I go, "Jason." And he goes, "Jason? Zettai washarenai." And it's just like so funny because like
I love that.
like
I will never forget that. I will definitely never forget that.
He's like, "Jason, I'll never forget your," and you're just like, that's really like, it's, and so it's because we had talked a little, like, so we talked a very little bit. "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm walking here. I'm staying here tonight." And then he's like, "What's your name?" I'll never forget. And for me, it's like, it's so funny because again, I'm not. I don't want to get political today, but there's a lot of sentiment going around, and yes, Japan can be a little bit closed off from time to time. But one of the beautiful things about this trip is like going out and actually talking to people. Yep. They're really not that different, and that's one of the goals I wanted to do. Like, yes, Japanese language is a bit difficult to learn, and a lot of Japanese people don't speak English, and vice versa, but people are just people. Like, ultimately, when I was sitting in the hot springs and it's a bunch of construction workers, they're just making jokes, and they're just chatting. And it's the same thing would have happened at the locker room after basketball at the YMCA, like it's no different fundamentally. And there are cultural differences and social differences, but when we boil ourselves down to the root essence of humanity, I like to think that there's more good than bad, and a lot of what goes on is just, misunderstanding or even misinformation or whatever. But and I think especially like once they hear what you're doing, and it was definitely the case for me, right? I think like once they realize what you're doing, then even though you're not explicitly outright saying it, I think most Japanese people would come to feel that you have some appreciation for Japan, right? Like you're not doing something negative. You're doing something because you appreciate Japan and you're trying to, something personal, but also you want to experience Japan. This is one thing it's funny when the husband and wife talked to me in the Minshu and they said, "Oh, wow, but you should be famous by now. You should be on the TV." And I thought, part of me says, yes, give me the fame.
Yeah,
but
sure, why not?
part of me was also like, you know what, that's a good thing. Because the fact that I've done this for 100 and something days, 130 days, and no one has recognized me means I've kept out of trouble too. And so, and whenever I finished, I actually one of my viewers took some of my photos, posted it on their Twitter account or X account or whatever, and it went super viral. And I woke up to like hundreds of messages on my Instagram because I didn't have X at the time. I woke up to hundreds of messages on my Instagram, all in Japanese, almost all of them saying, "Thank you, wow, omedetou, thank you for loving Japan. It's so cool that you did this project. I'm glad that you love Japan. I've never left Fukui, but it's cool to see that you loved Fukui so much." Or, "Oh, you were in Yamagata, you were at Atsumi Onsen, and I went there as a kid," and da. So it was overwhelming, but it was also really, really like, there's a lot of positive in the world if you just kind of put your effort in that direction. And so, that was really, really something for me. That the fact that I walked for 169 days with no scandal, and no bad virality until, no bad virality at all, but
yeah, exactly.
I think is a win in itself. Yeah.
Until I thought you were about to reveal, like the other day.
No. I was going to say no. I was going to say the virality. No. The virality happened, but it was a good virality, not a bad virality. So,
I know. Okay, so we're wrapping up, but like, what's going on with you right now? Like, what are you doing? Like, what should people check out? What should they be aware of?
Yes. So in 2025, I've been streaming every day on Twitch, and some of it's been walking, some of it's been, at home. It's been an experiment to see, like, okay, if I force myself to do this every day, do I still love it? And so far, we're 320 days in, I think, and still love it. So that's good. I do post on Instagram, and I'm trying to script and do some things on YouTube as well, talking about the big trip. I was mentioning to Tony earlier, like, I have thousands of hours of footage, and I have pages and pages of journals to disseminate and try to find out, okay, how do I make this, compile this into a digestible video or a digestible article or things like that. So Sensei Martian, pretty much everywhere. And that's it. I'm still walking. Actually, like I said, last weekend, I just walked 100 kilometers nonstop, which was the craziest thing I've done, and I don't think I'll do that again. But
in 2 days?
In 30 hours, yeah.
In 30? Did you
30?
Sleep?
No, I did not.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
From where to where?
From the Yamanashi Tokyo border to the Tokyo Chiba border. Yeah.
Jeez.
I walked, the entirety. So it was 143,000 steps in like 30 and a half hours. Yeah. So
was there a specific reason why you chose that path?
A couple of years ago, there was a very famous creator in Japan who made a video that said, I walked across Tokyo in a day. And the video only takes him from Ueno to Shibuya, which is like 22 kilometers, 24 if you're being generous.
I think I saw that video, or at least parts of it.
So I didn't watch the video, but I saw the AI summary, and he walks here to here, and I was like, that's not Tokyo. Mm-hmm. So 2.5 years ago, I tried a similar walk. I failed because of rain, and then last month I tried again, failed because of the rain, and I thought, okay, this time weather's good. I will not sleep. I'm going to march until I'm finished, and so because I wanted to. And not necessarily, he inspired me, and I didn't want it to be like a spite thing, but it was, I like to see what I'm made of.
Exactly.
I like to see like,
let me see if I can do it. Yeah.
Yes. So it wasn't like, but it's like, thank you for giving me this idea. Because again, same with the book, Road to Sata. I had been backpacking in the States. I've gone like backcountry backpacking, and you camp and you this and this. I had never thought of through hiking, which is what you and I did. Like you walk, you stay at a place, you walk, you stay at a place. So you're hiking, but you're moving. It never even crossed my mind to do something like that. So anytime I see something cool like that, and then if I can put my own spin on it and push myself or, make it more interesting for me, then that's what I want to do. And that's what I want to try to do. So.
Jeez, walking 100 kilometers in 30. Like it's the kind of thing where maybe I should try that. And then I think about it. Like, I don't really want to do that, but I kind of do. But I kind of don't.
No, it's well, it's funny that the exact because I was malnutrition toward the end of it, and I could tell I had like very low sodium, and because it wasn't cold, so I didn't feel myself sweating, but I was losing salt, and I didn't have salt tablets. So that the last to put the last 10 kilometers took me like 4 or 5 hours. Like I was moving at a snail's pace for the last 10. And immediately after I was like, I'm never doing another one again. And then on the train home, I'm like, well, maybe if I just, now that I know my weaknesses, I'm like, okay, well, if I just pack more jellies or maybe I could do it again, but not get, so.
Yeah, that was like when I was done with Toka, I was like, all right, I wasn't planning to do another one, but but I want to see if I can do. I want to cross Kansai because I used to live in Kansai. I want to walk across Kansai, and then if I start doing that, where can I walk? Oh, Miyajima, that's a good place. Okay.
Yeah.
But then I made it to Yamaguchi, so I was like, that's kind of a lame place to end. Like it's kind of no dig at Iwakuchi. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I want to finish it like a more epic place. Like, well, I guess I gotta go to the bottom of Kagoshima.
Yeah. No, that's how it is. I'm worried about doing another long walk because of that same reason. Because it's like, okay, well, if I do like the next thing on my sites is the Michinoku Trail from Aomori down to from what is it, Hachinohe to Soma. Hachinohe, Aomori to Soma, Fukushima. It's like 1,000 kilometers.
Right? Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, next year I turn 33. So I'm like, okay, maybe I could do something where it's like 33 kilometers a day for 30 days. And, I do my, but then it's like, well, if I'm doing that fast, then maybe I don't have time to, because I still have work. And so it's like, okay, if I'm doing that fast, then I don't have time to interact as much. But if I don't do it in that time, then my own goal is not achieved. And,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, it's a constant thing. Same with me. It's like, well, what can I do next? What can I do next? So,
yes.
But
that was the big. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No.
So that was a big. I remember when I finished, someone said, "Well, what are you going to do now? How are you going to one up this?" And I was like, "I don't think I have to, but
yeah,
I do. Like, I need to do more, but I don't. You can't really one up unless you walk around Japan, or you. Yeah. I think it's okay to just explore, and so I do have some ideas. Yeah,
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's not necessarily about one-upsmanship. It's not necessarily about doing every single kilometer. Sometimes there's those things where you might have to do it a little bit differently, or the more important thing is that you just keep on doing something.
Yes, and that's I have people tell me too. I remember one of my streamer friends said, "Oh yeah, I want to do a walk with you, but my limit's like 10,000 steps." And I said, "That's fine." I said, "Listen, starting at 10,000 is fine. Starting at 5,000 is fine. Starting at 3,000, I mean, it's a lot of people are like, well, I haven't walked as much as you. That's okay. You never will, and you shouldn't. Like you should. Yeah, it's like you shouldn't. Like I'm kind of an insane person, but it's okay to like. I hope to like encourage people to do more, but you don't have to measure it against anyone else besides yourself. And
exactly.
That's, I think, unfortunately, in the social media world, there's way too much measuring, and it's like, no, if you like it, go do it. If you don't like it, try something else, and then just keep on. If you like it, just keep walking, keep taking the steps. So
Exactly. No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I could keep asking you more and more questions, and maybe we'll do it again. But thank you. And of course, everybody check out Sensei Martian. You can find him. Links are in the show notes. Of course, you can just click on those or look him up on Twitch and Instagram. If you're into walking and exploration and of course some other sometimes cool fun Japan content, check out the Twitch especially, and I'll keep an eye out for the YouTube. I have subscribed, so there are a couple videos there, but it seems like there might be more coming in the not too distant future, so you might want to hit the subscribe button there as well. So thank you so much, Jason. Thanks for making time.
No, thank you very much. Like I said, when we met, I was absolutely ecstatic to chat with you, and I had a great time. Thank you very much.